Hare Krishna, everybody. Welcome back to the daily readings of Srila Prabhupada's books. We're more than a year now into it in terms of live streaming it, but I'm more than 5 years into it. I started and made a vow on February 6th, 2014. Yes. And here we are, by the grace of all of you. Hare Krishna. Okay, Bhagavatam is laid out. It's constructed in such a way that if we just hear the whole thing all the way through, not become dilettante and skip here and skip there and skip here and skip to this book and skip to that book, but systematically go through the whole Bhagavatam, our consciousness will be expanded to the point where we can actually conceive of the absolute truth. Okay. Sanatana Goswami's beautiful Srimad-Bhagavata Mahima Stotram, the glories of the Srimad-Bhagavatam by Srila Sanatana Goswami, goes like this. Sarvashastra Vidiyusha Sarva Vedaika Satpala Sarva Siddhanta Ranagya Sarva Lokaika Trikprada. O nectar from the ocean of all scriptures, singular fruit of all the Vedas, rich mine of the precious gems of all conclusive truths, you are the only giver of sight to all the worlds. Sarva Bhagavata Prana Srimad Bhagavata Prabhu Kalimanto Gitaditya Sri Krishna Parivartita. O life air of all the Supreme Lord's devotees, O Master Srimad Bhagavatam, you are the sun risen in the darkness of Kali. You are the exact image of Sri Krishna. Paramananda Pataya Prema Varshakshadayate Sarvada Sarvasevaya Sri Krishnaya Namostume. I bow down to you, who are supremely blissful to read. Your every syllable pours down a flood of prema. You can always be served by everyone. You are Sri Krishna himself. Madhika Bando Matsangin Madguru Man Mahadana Mad Nistaraka Mad Bhagya Mad Ananda Namostute. My only friend, my constant companion, my spiritual master, my great wealth, my savior, my good fortune, my source of ecstasy, I bow down to you. Sadhu sadhu tadayin adinicho chachakara anamunchakada chinma pringarit katayospura. O bestower of saintliness to the unsaintly, O exalter of the most fallen, please never leave me. Always appear in my heart and my voice with your love. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 So we're hearing the prayers offered by the different residents of different varshas on Bhumandala. And we learn a lot by hearing the prayers throughout the Bhagavatam, because every one of us is just an infinitesimal particle, and but the devotees, they have realizations, and when you put them together, all the realizations of all the prayers in the Bhagavatam, we get to know Krishna a lot better than we knew him before. It's not possible to know him completely. He can't even know himself completely, in the sense that every time he does, then he expands. He's always expanding, Okay, so this verse is offered by, I forget who was praying. Anyway, but this verse is extremely important, so I'm going to chant the Sanskrit, which I usually don't do. Canto 5, Chapter 18, Prayers by the residents of Jambudvipa. Text 12. Yasyasti bhaktir bhagavat yakinchana sarvair gunais tatra samasrate suraha harau avakta sikuto mahadguna manovritina satidavato bihi. All the demigods and their exalted qualities, such as religion, knowledge, and renunciation, become manifest in the body of one who has developed unalloyed devotion for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vasudeva. On the other hand, a person devoid of devotional service and engaged in material activities has no good qualities. Even if he is adept at the practice of mystic yoga or the honest endeavor of maintaining his family and relatives, he must be driven by his own mental speculations and must engage in the service of the Lord's external energy. How can there be any good qualities in such a man? Purport. As explained in the next verse, Krishna is the original source of all living entities. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 15:7, wherein Krishna says, Mamai vangsha jiva loke jiva bhutak sanatanaha manak shastranindriyani prakriti stani karshati. The living entities in this conditioned world are my eternal fragmental parts. Due to conditioned life, they are struggling very hard with the six senses, which include the mind. All living entities are part and parcel of Krishna, and therefore, when they revive their original Krishna consciousness, they possess all the good qualities of Krishna in a small quantity. When one engages himself in the 9 processes of devotional service, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Satyam, Atma, Nivedanam, one's heart becomes purified and he immediately understands his relationship with Krishna. He then revives his original quality of Krishna consciousness. In the Adi Leela of Chaitanya Charitamrita, chapter 8, there is a description of some of the qualities of devotees. For example, Sri Pandit Haridas is described as being very well behaved, tolerant, peaceful, magnanimous, and grave. In addition, he spoke very sweetly. His endeavors were very pleasing, and he was always patient. He respected everyone. He always worked for everyone's benefit. His mind was free of duplicity, and he was completely devoid of malicious activities. These are all originally qualities of Krishna, and when one becomes a devotee, they automatically become manifest. Sri Krishnadas Kaviraj, the author of Chaitanya Charitamrita, says that all good qualities become manifest in the body of a Vaishnava, and that only by the presence of these good qualities can one distinguish a Vaishnava from a non-Vaishnava. Krishnadas Kaviraj lists the following 26 good qualities of a Vaishnava. He is very kind to everyone. 2, he does not make anyone his enemy. 3, he is truthful. 4, he was equal to everyone. 5, no one can find any fault in him. 6, he is magnanimous. 7, he is mild. 8, he is always clean. 9, he is without possessions. 10, he works for everyone's benefit. 11, he is very peaceful. 12, he is always surrendered to Krishna. 13, he has no material desires. 14, he is very meek. 15, he is steady. 16, he controls his senses. 17, he does not eat more than required. 18, he is not influenced by the Lord's illusory energy. 19, he offers respect to everyone. 20, he does not desire any respect for himself. 21, he is very grave. 22, he is merciful. 23, he is friendly. 24, he is poetic. 25, he is expert. 26, he is silent. Text 13. Just as aquatics always desire to remain in the vast mass of water, all conditioned living entities naturally desire to remain in the vast existence of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, if someone very great by material calculations fails to take shelter of the Supreme Lord, but instead becomes attached to material household life, his greatness is like that of a young, low-class couple. One who is too attached to material life loses all good spiritual qualities. Purport. Although crocodiles are very fierce animals, they are powerless when they venture out of the water onto land. When they are out of the water, they cannot exhibit their original power. Similarly, the all-pervading Supersoul, Paramatma, is the source of all living entities, and all living entities are part and parcel of Him. When the living entity remains in contact with the all-pervading Vasudeva, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he manifests his spiritual power exactly as the crocodile's strength in water. In other words, the greatness of a living entity can be perceived when the spiritual world engaged in spiritual activities. Many householders, although well educated in the knowledge of the Vedas, becomes attached to family life. They are compared herein to crocodiles out of the water, for they are devoid of all spiritual strength. Their greatness is like that of a young husband and wife who, although uneducated, praise one another and become attracted to their own temporary beauty. This kind of greatness is appreciated only by low-class men with no qualifications. Everyone should therefore seek the shelter of the Supreme Lord Soul, the source of all living entities. No one should waste his time in the so-called happiness of materialistic household life. In the Vedic civilization, this type of crippled life is allowed only until one's 50th year, when one must give up family life and enter either the order of Vanaprastha, independent retired life for cultivation of spiritual knowledge, or sannyas, the renounced order, in which one completely takes shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Text 14. Therefore, O demons, give up the so-called happiness of family life and simply take shelter of the lotus feet of Lord Nrsingadev, which are the actual shelter of fearlessness. Entanglement in family life is the root cause of material attachment, indefatigable desires, moroseness, anger, despair, fear, and the desire for false prestige, all of which result in the repetition of birth and death. Text 15. Shukadev Goswami continued, in the tract of land called Ketumalavasha, Lord Vishnu lives in the form of Kamadeva, only for the satisfaction of his devotees. These include Lakshmiji, the goddess of fortune, the Prajapati, Sangvatsara, and all of Sangvatsara's sons and daughters. The daughters of Prajapati are considered the controlling deities of the nights, and his sons are considered the controllers of the days. The Prajapati's offspring number 36,000, one for each day and each night in the lifetime of a human being. At the end of each year, the Prajapati's daughters become very agitated upon seeing the extremely effulgent disk of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and thus they all suffer miscarriages. Purport. This Kamadev,
who appears as Krishna's son, named Pradyumna, is Vishnu Tattva. How this is so is explained by Madhvacharya, who quotes from the Brahmanda Purana, Kamadeva Stitam Vishnum Upasate. Although this Kamadeva is Vishnu Tattva, his body is not spiritual but material. Lord Vishnu, as Pradyumna or Kamadev, accepts a material body, but he still acts spiritually. It does not make any difference whether he accepts a spiritual or a material body. He can act spiritually in any condition of existence. Mayavadi philosophers regard even Lord Krishna's body as material, but their opinions cannot impede the spiritual activity of the Lord. Text 16. In Ketumalabarsha, Lord Kamadev, Pradyumna, moves very graciously. His mild smile is very beautiful, and when he increases the beauty of his face by slightly raising his eyebrows and glancing playfully, he pleases the goddess of fortune. Thus, he enjoys his transcendental senses. Text 17. Accompanied during the daytime by the sons of the Prajapati, the predominating deities of the days, and accompanying at night by his daughters, the deities of the night, Lakshmi Devi worships the Lord during the period known as Samvatsara in his most merciful form as Kamadev. Fully absorbed in devotional service, she chants the following mantras. Purport. The word Maya Mayam used in this verse should not be understood according to the interpretations of the Mayavadis. Maya means affection as well as illusion. When a mother deals with her child affectionately, she is called Maya Maya. In whatever form the Supreme Lord Vishnu appears, he is always affectionate toward his devotees. Thus, the word Maya Mayam is used here to mean very affectionate toward the devotees. Srila Jiva Goswami writes in this regard that Maya Mayam can also mean Kripa Panchuram, deeply merciful. Similarly, Srila Viraraghava says, Maya Prachuranat Miya Sankalpena Parigrihitam Ityartha Jnanaparyayotra Maya Shabdaha. When one is very affectionate due to an intimate relationship, one is described as Maya Maya. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains Maya Mayam by dividing it into the words Maya and Amayam. He explains these two words to indicate that because the living entity is covered by the disease of illusion, the Lord is always eager to deliver his devotee from the clutches of Maya and cure him of the disease caused by the illusory energy. Text 18. Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Rishikesha, the controller of all my senses and the origin of everything. As the Supreme Master of all bodily, mental, and intellectual activities, he is the only enjoyer of their results. The 5 sense objects and 11 senses, including the mind, are his partial manifestations. He supplies all the necessities of life, which are his energy, and thus non-different from him. And he is the cause of everyone's bodily and mental prowess, which is also non-different from him. Indeed, he is the husband and provider of necessities for all living entities. The purpose of all the Vedas is to worship him. Therefore, let us all offer him our respectful obeisances. May he always be favorable toward us in this life and the next. Purport. In this verse, the word Maya, Maya, is further explained in regard to how the Lord expands his mercy in different ways. Parasya Shaktir Vividaiva Shruyate. The energies of the Supreme Lord are understood in different ways. In this verse, he is described as the original source of everything. Even our body, senses, mind, activities, prowess, bodily strength, mental strength, and determination for securing the necessities of life. Indeed, the Lord's energies can be perceived in everything. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 7:8, Rasoham apsikonteya. The taste of water is also Krishna. Krishna is the active principle of everything we need for our maintenance. This verse, offering respectful obeisances unto the Lord, was composed by Rama, the goddess of fortune, and is full of spiritual power. One may chant this mantra for complete liberation from material bondage. And after liberation, one may continue to chant it while worshipping the Supreme Lord in Vaikuntha Loka. All mantras, of course, are meant for this life and the next life, as Sri Krishna himself confirms in Bhagavad Gita 9:14. Satatam kirtiyanto mam yatantascha dridavrataha namasyantas chamam bhaktya nityayukta upasate. Always chanting my glories, endeavoring with great determination, bowing down before me, the great souls perpetually worship me with devotion. A devotee who both in this life and the next chants the Mahamantra or any mantra is called Nitya Yukto Pasaka. Text 19. My dear Lord, you are certainly the fully independent master of all the senses. Therefore, all women who worship you by strictly observing vows because they wish to acquire a husband to satisfy their senses are surely under illusion. They do not know that such a husband cannot actually give protection to them or their children, nor can he protect their wealth or duration of life, for he himself is dependent on time, fruitive results, and the modes of nature, which are all subordinate to you. Purport. In this verse, Lakshmi Devi, Rama, shows compassion toward women who worship the Lord for the benediction of possessing a good husband. Although such women desire to be happy with children, wealth, a long duration of life, and everything dear to them, they cannot possibly do so. In the material world, a so-called husband is dependent on the control of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. There are many examples of a woman whose husband, being dependent on the result of his own fruitive actions, cannot maintain his wife, her children, her wealth, or her duration of life. Therefore, factually, the only real husband of all women is Krishna, the Supreme Husband. Because the gopis were liberated souls, they understood this fact. Therefore, they rejected their material husbands and accepted Krishna as the real husband. Krishna is the real husband, not only of the gopis, but of every living entity. Everyone should perfectly understand that Krishna is the real husband of all living entities, who are described in the Bhagavad Gita as Prakriti, female, not Purusha, male. In Bhagavad Gita 10:12, only Krishna is described as Purusha. Padam Brahma Padam Dhamma Pavitram Padamam Bhavan Purusham Shaswatam Divyam Adideva Majam Vibhum. You are the Supreme Brahman, the ultimate, the supreme abode and purifier, the ultimate, the absolute truth, and the eternal divine person. You are the primal God, transcendental and original, and you are the unborn and all-pervading beauty. Krishna is the original Purusha, and the living entities are Prakriti. Thus Krishna is the enjoyer, and all living entities are meant to be enjoyed by him. Therefore, any woman who seeks a material husband for her protection, or any man who desires to become the husband of a woman, is under illusion. To become a husband means to maintain a wife and children nicely by supplying wealth and security. However, a material husband cannot possibly do this, for he is dependent on his karma. Karmana, daiva, netrena. His circumstances are determined by his past fruitive activities. Therefore, if one proudly thinks that he can protect his wife, he is under illusion. Krishna is the only husband, and therefore the relationship between a husband and a wife in this material world cannot be absolute. Because we have the desire to marry, Krishna mercifully allows the so-called husband to possess a wife and the wife to possess a so-called husband for mutual satisfaction. In the Ishopanishad, it is said, Tena tyaktena bunjita. The Lord provides everyone with his quota. Actually, however, every living entity is Prakriti, or female, and Krishna is the only husband. Ekale Ishwara Krishna Ara Sababritya Yari Yaiche Nachaya Setaiche Kari Nritya. Krishna is the original master, or husband of everyone, and all other living entities, having taken the form of so-called husbands or wives, are dancing according to his desire. A so-called husband may unite with his wife for sense gratification, but his senses are conducted by Rishikesha, the master of the senses, who is therefore the actual husband. Text 30. He alone, who is never afraid, but who, on the contrary, gives complete shelter to all fearful persons, can actually become a husband and protector. Therefore, my Lord, you are the only husband, and no one else can claim this position. If you were not the only husband, you would be afraid of others. Therefore, persons learned in all Vedic literature accept only your lordship as everyone's master, and they think no one else a better husband and protector than you. Purport. Here the meaning of husband or guardian is clearly explained. People want to become a husband, a guardian. Here the meaning of husband or guardian is clearly explained. People want to become a husband, a guardian, or governor, or a political leader without knowing the actual meaning of such a superior position. There are many people all over the world, indeed throughout the universe, who claim for some time that they are husbands, political leaders, or guardians. But in due course of time, the Supreme Lord desires their removal from their posts, and their careers are immediately finished. Therefore, those who are actually learned and advanced in spiritual life do not accept any leader, husband, or maintainer other than the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Lord Krishna personally states in Bhagavad Gita 1866, Aham Tvam Sarva Papebhyo Mokshayishami. I shall deliver you from all sinful reactions. Krishna is not afraid of anyone. On the contrary, everyone is afraid of Krishna. Therefore, he can actually give protection to a subordinate living entity. Since so-called leaders or dictators are completely under the control of material nature, they can never give complete protection to others, although they claim this ability due to false prestige. Nate vidu swarta gitim hi vishnum. People do not know that real advancement, 5:18:20, purport. People do not know that real advancement in life consists of accepting the Supreme Personality of Godhead as one's master, instead of deceiving themselves and others by pretending to be all-powerful, all political leaders, husbands and guardians should spread the Krishna consciousness movement so that everyone can learn how to surrender to Krishna, the Supreme Husband. Pretty nice, eh? Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Text 21. My dear Lord, you automatically fulfill all the desires of a woman who worships your lotus feet in pure love. However, if a woman worships your lotus feet for a particular purpose, you also quickly fulfill her desires. But in the end, she becomes broken-hearted and laments. Therefore, one need not worship your lotus feet for some material benefit. Purport. Srila Rupa Goswami describes pure devotional service as anyabhilashita shunyam jnana karma jnanavritam. One should not worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead to fulfill some material desire for success in fruitive activities or mental speculation. To serve the lotus feet of the Lord means to worship the Lord strictly according to the regulated principles given by the spiritual master and the Shastras. By executing devotional service in that way, he gradually becomes attached to Krishna. And when his original dormant love for the Lord becomes manifest, he spontaneously serves the Lord without any motive. This condition is the perfect stage of one's relationship with the Lord. The Lord then looks after the comfort and security of his devotee without being asked. Krishna promises in Bhagavad Gita 9:22, Ananyas chintayanto mam ye janak prayupasate tesham nityabhayuktanam yogat chemam vaham yaham. The Supreme Lord personally takes care of anyone who is completely engaged in his devotional service. Whatever he has, the Lord protects, and whatever he needs, the Lord supplies. Therefore, why should one bother the Lord for something material? Such prayers are unnecessary. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains that even if a devotee wishes the Lord to fulfill a particular desire, the devotee should not be considered a sakarma bhakta, a devotee with some motive. In the Bhagavad Gita 7:16, Krishna says, Chaturbidha bhajanti mam janak sukatinorjuna arto jigyasurartarti jnani cha bharatarshaba. O best among the Bharats, Arjuna, 4 kinds of pious men render devotional service unto me: the distressed, the desirer of wealth, the inquisitive, and he who is searching for knowledge of the absolute truth, of the absolute. The arta and artarti, who approach the Supreme Personality of Godhead for relief from misery or for some money, are not sakama bhaktas, although they appear to be. Being neophyte devotees, they are simply ignorant. Later in Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says, Udara sarva evaite. They are all magnanimous. Udara. Although in the beginning, a devotee may harbor some desire, in due course of time, it will vanish. Therefore, the Srimad-Bhagavatam enjoins, Akama sarvakamo va mokshakama udaradihi tivrina bhakti yogena yajeta purusham param. A person who has broader intelligence, whether he is full of all material desire, is free from material desire, or has a desire for liberation, must by all means worship the Supreme Whole, the Personality of Godhead. Bhagavatam 2:3-10. Even if one wants something material, he should pray to no one but the Lord to fulfill his desire. If one approaches a demigod for the fulfillment of his desires, he is to be considered nashta buddhi, bereft of all good sense. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Kamaisthaistaya rityajnana prapadyantenya devataha tam tam niyamamastaya prakritya niyatak svaya. Those whose minds are distorted by material desires surrender unto demigods and follow the particular rules and regulations of worship according to their own natures. Lakshmi Devi advises all devotees who approach the Lord with material desires that according to her practical experience, the Lord is Kamadeva, and thus there is no need to ask him for anything material. She says that everyone should simply serve the Lord without any motive. Since the Supreme Personality of Godhead is sitting in everyone's heart, he knows everyone's thoughts. And in due course of time, he will fulfill all desires. Therefore, let us completely depend on the service of the Lord without bothering him with our material requests. Prabhupada ki jai. Text 22. O unconquerable Lord, when they become absorbed in thoughts of material enjoyment, Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, as well as all demigods and demons, undergo severe penances and austerities to receive my benedictions. But I do not favor anyone, however great he may be, unless he is always engaged in the service of your lotus feet. Because I always keep you within my heart, I cannot favor anyone but a devotee. Purport. In this verse, the goddess of fortune, Lakshmi Devi, clearly states that he does not bestow her favor. In this verse, the goddess of fortune, Lakshmi Devi, clearly states that she does not bestow her favor on any materialistic person. Although sometimes a materialist becomes very opulent in the eyes of another materialist, such opulence is bestowed upon him by the goddess Durga Devi, a material expansion of the goddess of fortune, not by Lakshmi Devi herself. Those who desire material wealth worship Durga Devi with the following mantra: Dhanam dehi rupam dehi rupavati bharyam dehi. O worshipful Mother Durga Devi, please give me wealth, strength, fame, a good wife, and so on. By pleasing Goddess Durga, one can obtain such benefits, but since they are temporary, they result only in Maya Sukha, illusory happiness. As stated by Prahlad Maharaj, Maya Sukhaya Badam Udbahato Vimudhan. Those who work very hard for material benefits are vimudhas, foolish rascals, because such opulences were not Maya Sukha. Wait, where am I? I might have just skipped. I'll go back. As stated by Prahlad Maharaj, Maya Sukhaya Badam Udvahato Vimudhan. Those who work very hard for material benefits are vimudhas, foolish rascals, because such happiness will not endure. On the other hand, devotees like Prahlad and Dhruva Maharaj achieved extraordinary material opulences, but such opulences were not Maya Sukha. When a devotee acquires unparalleled opulences, they are direct gifts of the goddess of fortune, who resides in the heart of Narayana. The material opulences a person obtains by offering prayers to the goddess Durga are temporary. As described in Bhagavad Gita 7:23, Antavat tupalam te sham tadbhavat jalpramedasam. Men of meager intelligence desire temporary happiness. We have actually seen that one of the disciples of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur wanted to enjoy the property of his spiritual master, and the spiritual master, being merciful toward him, gave him the temporary property, but not the power to preach the cult of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu all over the world. That special mercy is the power to that special mercy of the power to preach is given to a devotee who does not want anything material from his spiritual master, but wants only to serve him. The story of the demon Ravana illustrates this point. Although Ravana tried to abduct the goddess of fortune, Sita Devi, from the custody of Lord Ramachandra, he could not possibly do so. The Sita Devi he forcibly took with him was not the original Sita Devi, but an expansion of Maya, or Durga Devi. As a result, instead of winning the favor of the real goddess of fortune, Ravana and his whole family were vanquished by the power of Durga Devi. Shristi Stiti Pralaya Sadhana Shaktir Eka. Text 23. O infallible one, your lotused palm is the source of all benediction. Therefore, your pure devotees worship it, and you very mercifully place your hand on their heads. I wish that you may also place your hand on my head, for although you already bear my insignia of golden streaks on your chest, I regard this honor as merely a kind of false prestige for me. You show your real mercy to your devotees, not to me. Of course, you are the Supreme Absolute Controller, and no one can understand your motives. Purport. In many places, the Shastras describe the Supreme Personality of Godhead as being more inclined toward his devotees than to his wife, who always remains on his chest. In Srimad-Bhagavatam 11:14-15 it is stated, Nat tata me priyatama atmayonir nashankaraha nachasankarshano nasrir naivatma cha yata bhavan. Here, Krishna plainly says that his devotees are more dear to him than Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, Lord Sankarshan, the original cause of creation, the goddess of fortune, or even his own self. Elsewhere, in Srimad-Bhagavatam 10:9-20, Shukadeva Goswami says, Nemam birincho nabavo nashrir apyanga sangshaya prasadam lebide gopi tat yat tat prapa vimuktidat. The Supreme Lord, who can award liberation to anyone, showed more mercy toward the gopis than to Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, or even the goddess of fortune, who is his own wife and is associated with his body. Similarly, Srimad Bhagavatam 10:47-60 also states, Nayam Shriyonga itanta rate prasada Swaryoshitam nalinaganda rucham katonyaha ratso save sabujadan dagrihita kanta labda shisham yaudagad vajasundarinam. The gopis received benedictions from the Lord that neither Lakshmi Devi nor the beautiful dancers in the heavenly planets could attain. In the Rasa dance, the Lord showed his favor to the most fortunate gopis by placing his arms on their shoulders and dancing with each of them individually. No one can compare with the gopis who received the causeless mercy of the Lord. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is said that no one can receive the real favor of the Supreme Personality of Godhead without following the footsteps of the gopis. Even the goddess of fortune could not receive the same favor as the gopis. Although she underwent severe austerities and penances for many years, Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu discusses this point with Vyankatabhata in Chaitanya Charitamrita. The Lord inquired from Vyankatabhata, Your worshipable goddess of fortune, Lakshmi, always remains on the chest of Narayana, and she is certainly the most chaste woman in the creation. However, my Lord is Lord Sri Krishna, a cowherd boy, engaged in tending cows. Why is it that Lakshmi, being such a chaste wife, wants to associate with my Lord? Just to associate with Krishna, Lakshmi abandoned all transcendental happiness in Vaikuntha, and for a long time accepted vows and regulated principles and performed unlimited austerities. Vyankanta replied, Lord Krishna and Lord Narayana are one and the same, but the pastimes of Krishna are more relishable due to their sportive nature. I'll read that again. Vyankanta replied, Lord Krishna and Lord Narayana are one and the same, but the pastimes of Krishna are more relishable due to their sportive nature. Due to their what?
Sportive nature.
Just checking. They are very pleasing for Krishna's Shaktis. Since Krishna and Narayana are both the same personality, Lakshmi's association with Krishna did not break her vow of chastity. Rather, it was in great fun that the goddess of fortune wanted to associate with Krishna. The goddess of fortune considered that her vow of chastity would not be damaged by her relationship with Krishna. Rather, by associating with Krishna, she could enjoy the benefit of the rasa dance. If she wanted to enjoy herself with Krishna, what fault is there? Why are you joking so about this? Lord Chaitanya replied, I know that there is no fault in the goddess of fortune, but still, she could not enter the rasa dance. We hear this from revealed scriptures. The authorities of Vedic knowledge met Lord Ramachandra in Dandakaranya, and by their penances and austerities, they were allowed to enter into the rasa dance. But can you tell me why the goddess of fortune, Lakshmi, could not get that opportunity? To this, Venkata replied, I cannot enter into the mystery of this incident. I am an ordinary living being. My intelligence is limited. I am always disturbed. How can I understand the pastimes of the Supreme Lord? They are deeper than millions of oceans. Lord Chaitanya replied, Lord Krishna has a specific characteristic. He attracts everyone's heart by the mellow of his personal conjugal love. By following in the footsteps of the inhabitants of the planet known as Brajaloka or Goloka Vrindavan, one can attain the shelter of the lotus feet of Sri Krishna. However, the inhabitants of that planet do not know that Lord Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Unaware that Krishna is the Supreme Lord, the residents of Vrindavan, like Nanda Maharaj, Yashoda Devi, and the gopis, treat Krishna as their beloved son or lover. Mother Yashoda accepts him as her son, and sometimes binds him to a grinding mortar. Krishna's cowherd boyfriends think he is an ordinary boy and get up on his shoulders. In Goloka Vrindavan, no one has any desire other than to love Krishna. The conclusion is that one cannot associate with Krishna unless he has fully received the favor of the inhabitants of Vrajabhumi. Therefore, if one wants to be delivered by Krishna directly, he must take to the service of the residents of Vrindavan, who are unalloyed devotees of the Lord. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So it's interesting how all through the Bhagavatam, now we're only in the 5th canto, and still every once in a while Prabhupada rolls out this purport that describes everything. Amazing. Now I want to point out something. I'll start with the reflections. I want to point out that sometimes when the gopis are talking to Krishna, they call him the Super Soul and the Lord of everything, Supreme Lord, etc., etc. How is that? Based on what we just heard. Any ideas?
else do that?
No. It was brave, though, of you to. Well, you wanted a microphone, so it was okay. What that means is that they actually know that he's God. You see, the Goloka Vrindavan is the source of everything. So any opulence of Vaikuntha has to be in Goloka Vrindavan, otherwise it couldn't be in Vaikuntha. Okay, now I gave you a hint. Huh?
May I ask what the question was?
The question was, how is it that the gopis will sometimes, even when they're chastising Krishna, will call him by the names of his pastimes or the names of his opulences? They'll sometimes call him, if you analyze the verses in which the gopis talking to Krishna and talking to one another about Krishna, they often refer to names like Madhava and Madhusudana, killer of Madhu, and things that indicate his opulence.
Because they're his pleasure potencies?
They are his pleasure potencies, but that's not the reason. Another idea? Yes.
What popped in my mind was just out of their affection.
Yes. Because their love is so powerful that it covers. You know, Mother Yashoda sometimes actually sees one of Krishna's opulences as God. You know, when covering potency of Maya, the covering potency of the conch shell of Maya, it's trying to interfere with this answer. Now the Yashoda, sometimes when she's feeding Krishna from her breast, she'll look and she'll see, you know, Krishna's teeth coming in, and she'll become ecstatic. Then he'll yawn, and she'll see the whole universe inside. And she'll just go, for a moment, she just becomes stunned. What? And then she can't think that maybe he's God. She can't think it because her maternal love is so strong that that would interfere with her finishing feeding Krishna. So the pure love of the residents of Braj is so powerful, so sweet, that it covers the opulence.
Why does Krishna do that?
Huh? Yogamaya does that.
Why does he?
Yogamaya does it. Yogamaya tells him open his mouth, and he does that to show Mother Yashoda, in order to glorify Mother Yashoda, in order to glorify the pure love of the Brajbasis, to show that the pure love of the Brajbasis is greater than the hymns of the Vedas and the opulences of Krishna's other expansions. Okay, open mic. Go ahead, Marcus. You got it.
I have a question. So it says that the devotees are more dear to Krishna, and it listed, demigods such as Lord Shiva, Brahma, and the plenary expansion of Sankarshan from Krishna. But how?
No, you didn't finish. Read the last part.
And the goddess of fortune, or even his own self.
Or even his own self. Now you can go ahead. Yes.
Okay.
Did you get that? Did you catch that?
I believe so. But Lord Shiva and the goddess of fortune, Lord Shiva is known as the pair of Vaishnav, and the goddess of fortune is also a very exalted and dedicated devotee of the Lord. So how does he love devotees more than he loves them and himself?
His pure devotees.
His pure devotees. Okay.
The devotees of Braj or the devotees of Vaikuntha.
Okay.
The devotees who have prema, pure love for Krishna.
Okay. And so does Lord Shiva or the goddess of fortune not exhibit pure love of Krishna?
Lord Shiva is very, very unique. He's not a jiva, and he's not Vishnu Tattva either. He's in between. He touches the material energy, but he's not influenced by it. He's transcendental, but he touches the material energy because he has the duty of destroying the material world, and his energies are the energies that destroy everything in this material world. You put an apple and leave it for a while, and it goes bad. That's the potency of Lord Shiva.
Okay.
So because he's in touch with it, although he doesn't get affected by it, he's not quite there in terms of his, pure devotion.
Okay.
But the devotees of Braj, they are not attracted to anything or anyone else except for Krishna. And the proof of this is when Lord Krishna expanded himself into Mohini Murti, the female form of Krishna. So that's a pretty attractive form. The female form of Krishna, that's it. Even though Krishna is even more beautiful, but still. And so, I think Lord Shiva once asked to see his, I don't exactly know how he worded it, I can't remember how he worded it, but he wanted to see so then Krishna showed up, and then Lord Shiva became completely bewildered, started to run after him like a love-struck something. And then Krishna led him around many places, so all the sages could see him running unabashedly after this woman, and all the forest animals, they looked and they saw Lord Shiva just going after this woman like he's completely mad after her, and even passing simon all over the place, and all the simon turned into gold and silver, and it was like wild. It's a wild pastime to show. And then Lord Shiva calmed down and he said, "Oh, okay, now I see the difference between me and Krishna."
Thank you.
But the pure devotees of Vraj, they never get attached to anybody but Krishna. One time, Krishna was hiding from the gopis, so he was in this bower, this place in the forest, and he was hiding there. The gopis were looking for him, and then one of them saw, looked like Krishna. So he said, "Look, he's over here." So they all went running there. So Krishna said, "Oh, I'm caught." So he changed his form into the Vishnu, four-armed Vishnu form, and just sat there. And the gopis came and said, "This is Vishnu." Anyway, the pair basin says, "Have you seen which way Krishna went?" They went running off. So they don't even get attracted to Vishnu. They're only attracted to Krishna. Even though in Braj, especially in Boma Vrindavan, they sometimes have deities they worship. They worship Lord Vishnu in their daily life, in their daily, family life. But everything's for Krishna. They'll drop anything and everything for Krishna. That's what we want. And you can't get that except if you decide to follow in the footsteps of the Brajbasis. Only they can give that. Lord Chaitanya can give it. It's Radharani. So how do you get that? You preach Krishna consciousness. You chant, follow the 4 regs, and preach Krishna consciousness. Try to make other people devoted. Try to bring other people to Krishna so they can taste this nectar that we're tasting together by hearing the Bhagavatam. That's the way to get it. And if you do that gradually, you become actually attached to the Bhagavatam. And then as we go through, and we get to the 10th canto, then your heart becomes captured. Krishna captures your heart. And then you helplessly go to him. There's nothing else you can do. Yes. The sound wasn't working there for a while?
It wasn't plugged in all the way.
Technical problems from our technician.
Hare Krishna. Rati Manjari says, I have heard the notion of Krishna being God comes up every now and then, just like in a bucket of milk. Sometimes a straw or grass may come up, but it's not important. Is this a correct understanding?
Yes. When you read the questions, you have to read them a little bit clearer, and slower and clearer. Okay? And louder.
One of the first verses is about 26 qualities of a devotee. But it seems like not every devotee has all those qualities, so what is the most important quality and how do they develop?
They're all equally important. But the most important one is full devotion for Krishna. That's in a purport in the there's in it's in one of these. Approaching a bona fide spiritual master. Humility, pridelessness, nonviolence, tolerance, simplicity. Approaching a bona fide spiritual master. Prabhupada says, the most important point is described in the first line of the 11th verse, Mai Chananya Yogina Bhaktir Abhyabhicharini. The process of knowledge terminates in unalloyed devotional service. So if one does not approach, or is not able to approach, the transcendental service of the Lord, then the other 19 items are of no particular value. It's all here. It's all here. We just have to learn these books. How do you learn the books?
Oral submissive reception.
Yes, but then teach them. There's a saying, teach to learn. You read actively. Active reading means you read looking for things, looking for nice points to make when you're talking to somebody about Krishna. And then actually Krishna will bring you situations where you can do that. And if you do that, I don't remember the number of times, Prabhupada said 3 times or 5 times or something like that, it was some number of times, you use that verse or that thought in a preaching situation and it becomes yours. It will come to you whenever you need it. It kind of like those mantras that the warriors had in the Battle of Kurukshetra. They were given benedictions, some of them by demigods. Whenever you need it, this mantra will come in your mind. But to give up that, to get that, you have to give up your pride. Give up the thought that you know something, or that you're proud, pride.
Okay, this one is from Prabhupada Priya Devi Dasi.
Jai Prabhupada Priya.
If Krishna is the only husband of everyone and all material husbands are basically useless, then why? Then why in ISKCON do we generally recommend young women to get married, especially since marriage is often problematic?
Because it's a stage. You know, it's not that everyone can understand everything all at once. You know, we need to be able to become submissive to authority. That's the purpose of the Vedic sacrifices, is the purpose of all the external rituals and rules and regulations. It's so that we who are conditioned, but from lifetimes upon lifetime, we don't even know how many lifetimes we've been in this material world, and we're so conditioned, our subtle bodies are just drenched, you know, in memories of material things, you know. So to regulate our senses, to control those tendencies, those, you know, those bad habits, you know, we need to, depending on our position in life and our spiritual evolution, we have to do those things that can cause us to, for our senses and mind to become peaceful. There's this verse towards the end of the 2nd chapter, Nasti buddhir ayuktasya nacha yuktasya bhavana nacha bhavyatak shantir ashantasya kutasukam. 6:2. Where is it? Phew. Almost made a liar out of me. Nasti buddhir ayuktasya nacha yuktasya bhavana nacha bhavyatak shantir ashantasya kutasukam. One who is not connected with the Supreme in Krishna consciousness can have neither transcendental intelligence nor a steady mind, without which there is no possibility of peace. And how can there be any happiness without peace? So all of that's why when Lord Chaitanya was inquiring from Ramananda Roy, what is the goal of life, the first thing he said was Varnashram Dharma. Lord Chaitanya rejected it because it was external, because it is an external activity, but still it is a part of the process of regulating the senses, so the senses can be calmer, more peaceful, regulated, so that one can think of Krishna. You can't think of Krishna if your senses and mind are agitated, not peaceful. So we should accept those things that are favorable. That's what the surrendering process is. You accept those things that are favorable and reject those things that are unfavorable. And eventually, if you take that process, then you'll regulate your senses according to the instructions of the Shastras and the spiritual master. And I guess you could say, yes, young men and women get married when they're young and passionate, and they need, to have that energy to become more peaceful. But eventually they have to give it up. So it's more intelligent not to get involved into it at all. It's not that they have to.
So girls don't have to?
But they don't absolutely have to. But in general, it's recommended that they do. Because otherwise they'll become exploited by men.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Okay, we read, those whose minds are distorted by material desires surrender unto demigods and follow the particular rules and regulations of worship according to their own natures. So, I've seen this more so lately than I had before. My question was, so they follow particular rules and regulations of worship, but what?
In a sacrifice, the demigods are worshipped by sacrifice. And in a sacrifice, there's all kinds of things that are needed to perform the sacrifice. There's brahmanas, Vedic brahmanas, and some of them are specialized. They know the Rig Veda or the Yajur Veda. And in the big sacrifices, there's all kinds of brahmanas needed to perform the different kinds of hymns that are meant for different purposes. Like the Rig Veda is meant to invite, the big persons, and the Yajur Vedas are meant to, the mantras are meant to turn the objects that we're going to offer, the spoon and the fire and the pot and all the things that you see in a sacrifice, meant to spiritualize them by the mantra. And different persons are making those pots. So they're, according to their nature, they're doing the pots, or they're doing the woodwork, or they're, measuring the size of everything to make sure it's all according to the rules and regulations of the Shastra. And some people are, singing, different prayers. Or some people are, they're all doing different things. So those are the sacrifices to the demigods, and everybody's worshiping them demigods according to their own natures, and they all get the benefit of the sacrifice. Therefore, in the Bhagavad Gita, it says that anyone who performs his duty properly can perfect his life by doing that duty for the pleasure of Krishna. Of course, that's a little bit different than the demigod worship it's talking about, but it's kind of similar.
So is the
Shreyan Swadharmo Bhiguna Paradharma Dhanushtita Swadharmo Vidinam Shreya Paradharmo Bhyavaha better to do your own duty imperfectly than do another duties perfectly. For to follow another person's path is dangerous, because it can lead to mistakes and confusion and bewilderment. But if you're doing your own duty, proper, even improperly, you're properly situated, and Krishna will arrange and organize your life in such a way that you can go forward. But in the Krishna consciousness movement, because we're in the Kali Yuga and we're all born Shudras, basically, then if we chant Hare Krishna and follow the rules and regulations given to us by our spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, our founder Acharya, then we transcend that. Our service becomes transcendental. So we no longer have to. And the other thing is that when you worship demigods, they're actually parts of Krishna. So they say Rita Jnana means it's less intelligent. Your intelligence is distorted because they can give you something, but Krishna can give you everything, because Krishna is the source of all the demigods. He's the source of everything. So if you go directly to Krishna and worship Krishna, as we heard in the prayers that we just heard, you can worship Krishna and he provides everything. Ananyas chintayantu mam. We heard that in the purport. Ananyas chintayantu mam yejanak prayupasite tesham nitya prayuktanam yogakshema bahamyaham. Ananyas, if your worship becomes for Krishna with full, ananya means without anything else. If your devotional service is free from any other desire other than to serve Krishna, anyanyas, and uninterrupted and unmotivated, then Krishna is so pleased. Then whatever you lack, he provides, and whatever you have gotten, then he maintains. And therefore things come to you even if don't try. You don't have to work hard for something. That doesn't mean that everyone gets everything. Somebody gets just a little thing, but they're completely satisfied. Koladveja Sridhar in Lord Chaitanya's pastimes, he barely had enough money to do anything, but he spent half of it worshipping the Ganges, and Lord Chaitanya used to come every day to his place. He just made banana leaf plates and things with out of banana plants, and he would sell them in the market. He didn't make hardly anything, and he would spend half of that to worship the Ganges. And Lord Chaitanya used to come to him, but he was a liberated, eternal associate of Lord Chaitanya. So Lord Chaitanya used to come every day to his little place, a little hut. Place is still there in Mayapur, you can see it. And he'd drink out of his iron pot. He had this old iron pot because it belonged to a pure Vaishnava. Lord Chaitanya would come there and drink from the water pot. Very intimate. And Lord Chaitanya used to joke with him. So he didn't have anything, practically. He was just a poor, urchin. But he was very, very wealthy in love for Krishna, love for Lord Chaitanya.
Can I ask one more question?
Oh my God, it's after 8 o'clock. Go ahead, quick. One more, this is it.
So, I've noticed that people from India who worship demigods, it's very easy to convince them that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but they're only...
you've noticed that, have you? How much experience do you have in that activity?
3 people.
Oh, 3 out of, 850 million. Go ahead. Generally speaking, it's not easy to convince demigod worshippers to worship Krishna. Generally speaking.
I didn't say I could get them to worship Krishna, but to understand that he's supreme.
Oh no, just the opposite. They're convinced that it's the same. Whether you worship Durga, whether you worship Kali, whether you worship Surya, whether you worship, it's all the same.
Okay, well maybe just the ones I've met.
There you go. That's clearer.
Hare Krishna.
Of course, you can be an empowered preacher. This is just a grain of rice in the pot.
I've noticed that their only reservation is that their last and final line is always, for the three that I've met, they're all from different places, never met each other, but they all come down and say the same thing. They're attached to worshiping that certain demigod. Oh, I've done it my whole life. I don't want to. Like, I can worship Krishna and this.
Oh, mine sounds like your roommate. Must be one of the three.
No.
Oh.
But yes, we do.
Anyway, they're pious. They're born in Punya Bhumi. They're born in India, and the piety is there just by being born in that place. And they learn from the time they're babies about, that they're not the body, and that holy rivers, and, the Gita, and all these things. So they're naturally pious. Prabhupada said if you scratch the heart of an Indian deep enough, you'll find a devotee. But they've become bewildered by the teachings of atheists. It is therefore nirvishesha shunyavadi paschata deshata. That's why we worship Prabhupada, because he stood up. He was the only one practically who stood up and said, "No, not everybody's God. There's no void. No, you're not God. Do you make the sun come up? Do you make the sun come up? Okay, make the sun come up, right?" No, he just called everybody's bluff, and I listened this morning to a very wonderful conversation he had with the, I'm not sure whether he was the dean or he was an administrator in a university in Durban, South Africa. It was the first trip. And he was a very nice person. And, Prabhupada was talking to him, and he understood. He was Christian, but he understood how Krishna consciousness should be taught. And he was talking about the Indian-bodied students and what they knew and what they were and what the potential they had, and he was very receptive, Prabhupada's thoughts. And therefore Prabhupada treated him with great affection. He didn't just say no to anything that anybody said. If somebody said something that was true, he'd immediately, yes, that's right, that's a very good idea, So it's not, Krishna consciousness is not sectarian, But right now, I'm going to turn into a pumpkin in 2 minutes, so I better leave, otherwise it'll be...
Like you said, to remind me, yes, tomorrow the reading will be at 4:30.
Oh, yeah. 23rd. Yes, thank you very much. Tomorrow, the reading will be at 4:30. I've been reminded by Sarvabhauma Ji, the husband of the goddess of fortune. Oh. Okay, we'll see you all tomorrow at 5:30, same place, same station. 4:30, same place, same station. Don't get old, it's no fun. It's a mistake. You'll lose your memory after a while. Okay, Srimad-Bhagavatam ki jai. The prayers of the different varshas ki jai. Go Premanandi. Everybody will. See you later, everyone.